lecture that has been a long time coming for me, ever since Dragon Age. This has been in my mind to do this lecture, and now I have a very participating crowd here, who I imagine will keep me on my toes throughout the course of this lecture. We're doing Elder Scrolls 101. We've got lovely Todd Howard up here, who will guide us, his spirit will guide us through this.
It'll just work out.
It'll just work. Before I get into the lore proper of the Elder Scrolls, I'm going to lay some groundwork, because I think that it's pertinent that I do so. So I have sifted through many hours of Elder Scrolls lore throughout this, the research for this project. And I feel like I've divided sort of like the religious lore canon into about 3 different belief systems, okay? You've got the Orthodox lore, which is the original lore of the Elder Scrolls series, as intended by the playtesters of Arena and Daggerfall, Vijay Lakshman, Julian LeFay, Ted Peterson, and Michael Kirkbride, the original writers for Arena and Daggerfall. This is the kind of lore that I am on board with. I like this. I try to adhere as closely to this stuff as possible. Yes?
Oh, I wasn't raising my hand. I was moving my sleeve.
Next up, we have the Howardian lore, or the Howardian way of thinking. This is the lore, or lore retcons, created by Todd Howard, taking over at Bethesda Softworks following the completion of the Morrowind project. That is most of the stuff that is in Oblivion and Skyrim, as well as some of the ESO stuff. Finally, you have the Neo-Kirkbridean lore, which I describe as lore created by Michael Kirkbride following his departure from Bethesda Softworks after the completion of the Morrowind project, involving shit like the Coda, spelled C0DA, fanfiction, and arguably the Knights of the Nine DLC for Oblivion. I should probably cover the Coda real quick because I don't plan on talking about it in the actual lecture itself. But the Coda is basically this thing, written by Michael Kirkbride, who was the main writer for Morrowind, and Morrowind's lore. And it's basically fan fiction, because he wrote it after he left Bethesda Softworks. And his goal with it was, since most of the lore for Arena and Daggerfall was written by playtesters for those games, he wanted to kind of give that back to the community. So he's like, all the Coda basically says is, hey, your fan fiction is canon. It is not. Maybe it's canon to you. I firmly reject the Coda and most of Kirkbride's modern ramblings. Okay, I think he's a mad lad, but he's absolutely insane.
The Mad King.
He is indeed the mad. Actually, Sheogorath was based off Ted Peterson. All right, so those are our 3 branches of thinking. I wanted to outline those real quick. Also, before I get started, I want to give you a big thanks to YouTube channels such as Zarek Zahakaron and the Imperial Library, who did an excellent job at organizing lore and putting it into very digestible videos. Camelworks also recently uploaded a 3-hour-long interview with Ted Peterson, the original writer for Daggerfall and Arena, obviously.
Small time.
And that is a really good interview. They talk a lot about the Wayward Realms, which is a game that Ted is working on with Vijay Lakshman. That is going to be sort of in the same vein as Daggerfall. And of course, the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages.net.
Can you hit that one up? No? The UESP, or Unofficial Elder Scrolls Pages website, that just contains the timeline and so much other useful shit, which this lecture would literally be impossible without. So, before I begin proper, any questions, comments, or concerns before we jump right into this? Yes?
Alright, so are you starting with like the divinity?
I am going to be starting with the creation of the universe.
Oh, shit. Alright, then.
Alright, so let's, is that all?
No, that's what I wanted to see where we were starting.
Okay.
So, I have a question. So, are we going, as you're going, like, are you going to tell us which line of thinking each
Yes,
canon?
I will tell you which thing is canon to which, because there's points where I'm going to have to be the canon differs depending on which line of thinking you go with.
Yeah, because I was like, I have a feeling that this is going to get really
This is
confusing.
going to get confusing, and especially where Kirkbride is involved, it's going to get metaphysical. So, let's just start with the Dawn era. So, the Elder Scrolls timeline is divided into 6 eras, roughly 6 eras. You have the Dawn era first, which is the creation of the universe, the creation of the spirits and the gods and the races, and oneness itself, okay? So, we're starting off at the very conceptual level with the idea of the Godhead. Now, the Godhead is something within which everything else I'm about to talk about takes place. I like stuff like this because especially when we get to like the different spirits, especially Anu and Padme coming up, about how these spirits are basically like the id and the ego of the Godhead clashing and all their different ideas coming in here. So basically, the Godhead is like the ultimate God, or the thing that imagines and creates everything in the universe. That's what we're starting off with, very similar to like Azathoth from Lovecraft's universe and
Or
stuff
the
like
Bible.
that. Or the Bible.
Because it starts at the beginning.
No, but the Bible doesn't imply that we're all just in God's imagination. God
That
is like a
doesn't
physical
imply that.
character.
Oh, God is a physical character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
in our, I mean, according to
yes.
Christianity. According to
Yeah.
Christianity, yes.
No, but I'm just like
Mhm.
trying to relate it to something that I know too well. You know?
Okay, so we're starting in the beginning. Right inside the Godhead, you've got the one, the everything and the original, which is Anu. Anu represents stasis and stability in the universe. And while it's just existing, it comes into contact with Padme, the chaos and the change, okay? And these two interacting with each other and meeting for the first time begins the process which we call the divine interplay. The divine interplay is where things are changed, reverted, reversed again, straightened out, fucking crumpled up, thrown away, taken out, burned, washed.
The metaphysical.
It is basically the idea of conflict and resolution over and over again, chaos and order, meeting each other. And that's pretty much everything we're going to be talking about. Okay, so the first thing Anu and Padme do is they create the Arbus. The Arbus is the actual universe itself. Okay? So they make the Arbus. And neither, at this point in time, Anu and Padme, they do not have identity. Like, they have no idea what themselves are. So, to understand itself, Anu made a small, Anu basically made a soul of itself. Like, it gave itself a soul. And it put this soul into the Arbus. This spirit is called Anuiel, okay? This spirit, this spirit that exists as the soul of Anu, called Anuiel, and it is the soul and substance of all things. So basically, Anuiel can look back at Anu and be like, okay, that's what I am. Basically, that's why Anu made it, so it could have identity. And Anuiel is the first creature to actually exist inside the Arbus. In turn, Padme creates its spirit, known as Sithis or the Void, in the absence of substance. It is sort of the force of change and separation that exists inside the Arbus. See, Anuiel allows things to exist, and Sithis allows things to exist separately from one another. So there is no uniformity in the Arbus. Okay, Anuiel and Sithis then go to make the Aetherius, which is another realm inside of the Arbus, sort of persisting of magic and crystal healing and bullshit like that. Okay, just like Anu and Padme before them, Anuiel and Sithis also make copies of themselves and put them in the Aetherius. Anu creates Akka, the god of time. Akka does not exist and never has existed, yes?
How Sithis?
Okay. Yeah, so Anuiel creates Akka and puts him in the Aetherius. But like I said, Akka does not exist and never has existed. Because at one point, Akka basically got too big as the god of time. Like there was too much bullshit going on with time itself. So Akka shattered. And he shattered into 3 big fragments and then a bunch of tiny little fragments. All the tiny fragments became dragons, as we know them today. The first fragment, or Ariel, represents the beginning of time. The second and largest fragment is Akatosh, who represents the body of time. And the final fragment, the final largest fragment, is Aluin, who represents the end of time and the end of everything.
That
And
last
those-
one sounds familiar.
those 3 are the big main fragments, and then all of the dragons are little fragments of the original time god. It's weird because Ariel is not a dragon, even though literally everything else that came from Akka is a dragon. But it's whatever. We're not gonna. Ariel's not gonna go around too long. Oh yeah, and Sithis creates Lorcan, or the god of space. So you've got Ariel is the beginning of time, replaced this part of Akka's life, the god of time basically at this point in time. Sithis creates Lorcan, the god of space. Okay? Lorcan and Ariel create many different spirits to inhabit the Aetherius with them. These are not unlike what was happening before, where they were just doing like cell mitosis and spirits were dividing down. This is not that. This is just them making other spirits now.
Pack the whiteboard.
So now, I wish I had the whiteboard. Now we get to the idea of Anuic and Patamaic spirits.
I do have an iPad that has an Apple Pen that you can like draw a thing, or you can just keep his face up.
That'd be
No.
so cool though.
God
Maybe
Howard.
another day.
God Howard is enough. He is the
If
Godhead.
you want, we can connect the iPad there and it can start drawing shit.
Like God Howard.
We'll continue for now, but if things get too confusing, that is always an option. So, Lorcan creates Patamaic spirits, and these are Patamaic spirits. Actually,
for like the entire time.
I think it's implied that Lorcan and Ariel, I think they can make Patamaic and Anuic spirits. Basically, if you're an Anuic spirit, you care about order and life and other things. And if you're a Patamaic spirit, you care about change and yourself, basically.
So Padme is life and creation, and the other one is
Anu is creation and unity. Padme is change and
Chaos.
chaos, yeah.
okay. I think I can keep.
Chaos, right? Walking the dog.
Alright. So yeah, Lorcan and Ariel create many different spirits. Just to run through some of these spirits, these are going to be people like Magnus, who will be the architect of the world. Most of the divines are created by Ariel. People like Kine / Kinneret / Knarthi, or Julianos, Zenithar, Debella, Mara. The divines. Most of the Patamaic spirits either don't exist anymore because they left or were killed in an event we'll get to later, or they eventually become like Daedric princes.
Right.
So,
They were
the
the homies.
spirits that Ariel creates feel purpose in the flow of time. And eventually, Lorcan, he does not feel purpose, because time is nothing to him. He's the god of space, and he has no space. So he's like, fuck it, I want to build something, basically. He gets the boys together, and he's like, boys, we're building a house. Okay?
Red Dead Redemption 2 ending.
Yes. So right now you've got Aetherius, or you've got the Godhead, which exists sort of outside of everything. Then you've got the Arbus, and inside the Arbus you have the Aetherius as the outer layer. Then there's this void within Aetherius, like here. Imagine like a donut. That hole of the donut is Aetherius. That is Oblivion, which is just a void.
Everything bagel.
Yes. Yeah. That is what Oblivion is right now. And eventually, Lorcan's like, I want to make another little circle inside of Oblivion, and that's going to be the material plane. And he wants to build the world there. So, you've got our boy Magnus, the god of magic. He creates a pocket within Oblivion and makes it into the material plane, also called the Sphere of Mundus. how to make beings, most of them created by Lorcan. They liked the idea of hollowing out an existence for themselves, but they did not care for the mortal plane. So they used their powers to create divine realms within themselves. These become the Daedric princes. All but one Daedric prince are Patamaic. There is a single Anuic Daedric prince who we'll get to later.
My boy. He my homie.
Spirits following Lorcan's will and Magnus's plan created Nirn, which was the mortal realm inside, the mortal world, like the earth itself, inside of the spirit fungus. Spirits, such as the earth bones and the Elnathae, gave themselves willingly to become the foundation of nature. Earth bones can be represented in like the form of spriggans and stuff like that. They are also, they have more ancient forms as well, which you can see in the Elder Scrolls Online. So, as creation was nearing its final moments, many spirits helping out with the creation of Nirn began fucking dying. And Magnus is like, what's going on here? And so he thinks about it long and hard, and he comes to 3 revelations simultaneously. The first revelation is, it was the power of the original spirits being drained that was used to make Lorcan's vision a reality. Secondly, the material plane was dangerous and could even draw in energy from Aetherius and beyond, implying that a universal collapse could be evident.
Oh, okay.
The third revelation was basically that Mundus was unstable, this could happen any second. So, Magnus goes to all of the Magna Geek, who are his followers, and he's like, boys, get together, we gotta go. We gotta get the fuck out of here.
We're leaving, back your shit, we're going home.
So Magnus, he can't gather everyone. He can't gather everyone, but he gathers his closest followers, the Magna Geek, and he's like, we're going. So they leave, and they rip holes, literally rip holes, through the material plane, through Oblivion, straight to Aetherius. The biggest hole, which is left by Magnus itself, is known as the Sun, and it is what allows Magicka to come into the world. The tinier holes are known